I found out my son had sold his house when I saw the moving trucks parked on my driveway. No phone call, no conversation, not even a heads-up text. Just a big blue U-Haul truck blocking my front gate, with two sweaty guys unloading furniture I recognized from Ryan's living room. The beige sofa I helped him pick out when he married Emily, the wooden bookshelf we built together one Sunday in May, the boxes stacked high with labels reading "Master Bedroom" in my daughter-in-law's neat handwriting. I stood at the kitchen window, clutching a mug of coffee I'd reheated 3 times and was still cold in my hands. My heart was pounding in that weird way it does when you know something awful is happening, but you're not ready to believe it. 72 years of life, 47 years married, 28 years as a mom, and I'd never felt a betrayal as quiet as this one. Ryan appeared around the side of the house, carrying a 50-inch flat screen, the one he always turned up to max volume whenever he visited. He was wearing faded cargo shorts and a navy polo shirt I'd given him for his 35th birthday. When he saw me at the window, he just waved. A quick, awkward wave, like you'd give a neighbor you barely know. My own son, waving at me like I was the neighbor. I opened the front door slowly, stepping out in the house slippers I'd bought on clearance at Target last week. The pavement was warm from the Phoenix sun at 2 in the afternoon, the sky that clear, cloudless blue you get in September. The movers passed by me, hauling the dark mahogany dresser Emily picked out against my advice. I always thought it was too bulky for their bedroom. Now it was headed for the guest room I'd fixed up so carefully for when my sister visits from Tucson. "Ryan, can I talk to you for a minute?" He stopped halfway across the yard, balancing a box of books in his arms. Books I knew by heart, some with my handwritten notes from his graduations, birthdays, milestones. I could see the worn spines of self-help books he devoured as a teen, back when he struggled with acne and shyness, titles by Tony Robbins and Stephen Covey. "Hey, Mom. Sorry for the rush, but we've got to get this done today. The movers only had this slot open. Get what done, Ryan." He gave me that look I knew from when he was a kid, the same face he made when he broke something and tried to hide it, or when he came home late from a party without calling. A mix of guilt and irritation, like I was the one making him feel bad. "We sold the condo, Mom. I talked to Dad about it already. We're going to stay here for a bit, just until we find a new place. Dad's been gone for 7 years, Ryan." The words slipped out before I could stop them. I saw the embarrassment flash across his face like a quick shadow. The movers paused for a few seconds, pretending not to hear, but I felt the weight of the silence settle over my yard. "Yeah, Mom, I know. But anyway, we're staying here for a while." A while. Like my house was a motel, a hostel, a crash pad for college kids. Like the 50 years I'd lived in these walls, planting every rose in the garden, painting every room with my own hands, meant nothing more than a free space for when their lives fell apart. Emily appeared at the front door just then, lugging 2 big suitcases and a purse. She greeted me with a quick peck on the cheek that barely grazed my skin. The kind of social kiss she always gave, even after 8 years as my daughter-in-law. She smelled of the expensive perfume Ryan always grumbled about, the one she wore even for quick trips to Safeway. "Hi, Mrs. Linda. Sorry for the invasion. We didn't expect the condo sale to go through so fast." The condo they bought with the down payment, I loaned them. The condo I helped furnish, hauling bags from mall to mall across Phoenix because they didn't have a car. The condo I stayed up until 2 in the morning sewing curtains for because their decorating budget was tight. "It's fine, Emily. Do you guys need anything?" The question came out automatically, from that motherly place that never dies, even when your kids walk all over you. She flashed a quick smile, already looking at her phone, typing some urgent text that was clearly more important than answering the mother-in-law whose house was being taken over. "Oh, we'll need to use the guest room and maybe turn your sewing room into a home office for Ryan. He's working remotely now, you know." The sewing room. That little space in the back of the house where I spent mornings crocheting, embroidering dish towels to sell at the farmer's market, mending neighbors' clothes for extra cash. The corner I carved out after my husband passed, when I learned that being alone isn't the same as feeling lonely. It was where I felt useful, productive, still capable of creating beauty in the world. "Sure, I guess you'll need to get settled." Ryan went back to helping the movers, and I stood there in the yard, watching my life get rearranged without my permission. The plants I watered every morning were pushed to the corners to make room for their furniture. The clothesline I always hung in the same spot had to be moved because it blocked the path for their dresser. Even my rocking chair, where I sat every evening to watch the street, was shoved to a less cozy corner. The hours dragged on that first day. By 6 in the evening, when the movers left and the house finally quieted down, I was sitting in the kitchen peeling potatoes for dinner. I'd cooked for one ever since my husband died, but that afternoon I found myself peeling potatoes for 3 without anyone asking, like my body knew before my mind did that the rules of my house had changed forever. Ryan showed up in the kitchen, fresh from a shower, wearing clean shorts and his hair still damp. A shower in my bathroom using my towel, burning through the hot water I rationed since the electric bill hit $200. "Mom, smells good. What are you making?" "Beef stroganoff." He grinned, the same grin he had as a 10-year-old coming home from school begging for food. For a second, I felt that warm maternal urge to care, to feed, to protect, but it didn't last. The memory of the moving trucks, the distracted wave, the sewing room turned office came rushing back. "Emily doesn't eat red meat, Mom." "What?" "She went vegetarian last month. Something about a diet she's trying." I looked at the 3 portions I was preparing. The stroganoff I'd made since he was a teenager, the recipe I learned from my mother-in-law, his favorite for Sunday visits. Now I was finding out my daughter-in-law didn't eat red meat on the same day I learned they'd sold their house. She should have told me. "Oh, Mom, we forgot. It's been such a hectic day. Hectic for invading my house. Hectic for upending my life without asking. Hectic for turning my routine upside down to suit their needs. But no time to warn me that the new resident of my home didn't eat what I'd been cooking for 72 years. Emily came into the kitchen just then, already in pajamas, her hair tied up in a messy bun. She glanced at the pot on the stove and made a barely noticeable grimace. "Wow, Mrs. Linda, you cooked. Smells amazing." But she didn't eat it. She made a simple salad and ate it standing by the sink while Ryan and I sat in silence at the kitchen table. The table where I'd eaten alone for 7 years, where I talked to my husband's framed photo on the wall, where I read my sister's letters and worked on crossword puzzles. After dinner, they disappeared to their room, and I was left cleaning the kitchen alone. I washed 3 plates instead of 1, stored leftovers that would have been my lunch tomorrow, dried the pans while wondering how strange it would be to cook for others after so long taking care of just myself. When I finished, I went to the living room to watch the evening news, like I always did at 9. But the TV was already on, tuned to some Spanish-language soap opera about impossible love and dramatic revenge. Emily was sprawled on my couch, barefoot, her feet propped on the coffee table where I kept just a small vase of flowers. "Sorry, Mrs. Linda, can we watch the news later?" "Sure." But the news ended at 10, and by 10, they were watching something else. And at 11. And 11:30. When I finally went to bed close to midnight, I could still hear the TV, their laughter over something I didn't understand, the sounds of an intimacy that didn't include me in my own living room. Lying in bed, staring at the ceiling I knew every crack and water stain of, I thought about how life can change in an instant, without any control. That morning, I was a 72-year-old woman living alone, with my routines, my quirks, my small joys, and my organized sorrows. By night, I was a stranger in my own home. Sleep took a while to come. I heard them getting ready for bed in the room next door. The toilet flushing, the sink running, the creak of the bed I'd bought when my husband was still alive, now holding my son and his wife. Low voices talking about things I couldn't make out, but definitely didn't involve me. The first week felt like a slow-motion movie where I was just an extra in my own life. I woke up at 6, as I had since retiring from the school where I taught for 30 years, but now I couldn't make coffee in the kitchen because Emily slept until 10, and the noise of the coffee maker woke her. I learned this on the 3rd day when she came downstairs in pajamas, looking grumpy, saying she needed to sleep well for her online marketing course. At 29, my daughter-in-law was chasing a new career while living rent-free in her mother-in-law's house. Meanwhile, I made my coffee in the guest bathroom using a small mug and lukewarm tap water so as not to disturb the new rulers of my kitchen. Ryan left early for work. He's always been responsible in that regard, but came home later and later. He said he was working overtime to save for a new place, but I saw him roll in at 9 or 10 at night, smelling of beer and laughing loudly on the phone with friends. When I asked, he said after a stressful workday, he deserved to unwind a little. Unwind. As if living rent-free in his mother's house was some heavy burden. Emily set up a routine that seemed designed to irritate me. She woke at 10, took a 40-minute shower that used up all the hot water, then parked herself at the kitchen table with her laptop. Papers scattered everywhere, colored pens and highlighters marking everything like she was solving world hunger. "Mrs. Linda, could you keep it down? I'm in an important class." Her important class was always more important than me washing dishes, sweeping the house, answering the phone, or just existing in my own space. I started tiptoeing around my own home, whispering when I took calls from my sister, delaying chores to avoid disrupting my daughter-in-law's digital education. But it was the second Sunday that made things truly unbearable. Sundays were always my day. I'd wake early, do a deep clean, make a special lunch, watch a talk show, then water the plants in the yard. A simple routine, but it gave me joy and purpose. That Sunday, I woke at 6 as usual, but when I got to the living room to start cleaning, I found Emily asleep on my couch, not in their room with its comfortable queen bed. On my couch, wrapped in the crocheted blanket I made in the weeks after my husband's death. "Emily?" She opened her eyes slowly, looking annoyed, like I'd wronged her by waking her. "Oh, Mrs. Linda, you scared me. You're up early today." "I'm up early every day, Emily." "Why are you sleeping in the living room?" "Oh, Ryan and I had a fight last night. Nothing big, but I didn't want to sleep in the same room as him." "What did you fight about?" She sat up, smoothing her messy hair, eyeing me like she was deciding how much truth to share. "Money, you know. He wants me to get a steady job, but I told him I'm investing in my future with this course. It's a long-term vision he just doesn't get." Long-term vision. She was living rent-free in my house, eating food I bought with my pension, using my water and electricity, and had the nerve to fight with my son about long-term visions. "I see. But I need to clean the living room, Emily." She sighed like I was the most inconsiderate person alive. "Fine. I'll go take a shower. Can you wait until I'm done? I'm kind of down about this whole thing." Down. She was down, not me, who was being pushed out of my own routine. Not me, who woke up every day unsure what new surprise awaited in my own home. She was the one who was down. I waited for her to take another 40-minute shower. I waited for her to pick out clothes from the dresser that now took up half the guest room. I waited for her to have breakfast in my kitchen, dirtying every clean dish I'd washed the night before. I didn't start cleaning until almost 9, with my Sunday already half gone. But the worst was yet to come. When I finished the living room and went to the kitchen to start lunch, I found Emily on the phone, talking loudly, gesturing like she was hosting a TV show. "No, Mom, I told you. We're staying with Ryan's mom temporarily. Yeah, she's nice enough. But you know how mothers-in-law are, right? She's got some weird quirks." I stopped dead in my tracks, clutching the dish towel in my hands. "Like she thinks I should get a job. Can you believe it, Mom? I just started this new career path. I'm investing in myself. I can't stop now to work as a cashier at Target just to make her happy." Cashier at Target. As if honest work was some kind of disgrace, as if my suggestion that she contribute to the household was some medieval absurdity. "It gets worse, Mom. She wants me to help with chores. I told her I'm studying. I need to focus, but she doesn't get it. She makes noise on purpose during my online classes." Noise on purpose. Me, tiptoeing through my own house, whispering on the phone, holding off on bathroom trips to avoid interrupting her precious classes, making noise on purpose. "Yeah, Mom, I know you warned me. You said living with a mother-in-law never works out. But what could I do? Ryan sold the condo without really talking to me about it. That was the last straw. My own son, thrown under the bus by the wife who was living rent-free in the home of the mother-in-law with weird quirks, who made noise on purpose. "Emily?" She turned to me, covering the phone with her hand. "Hold on, Mom. What's up, Mrs. Linda? Can I talk to you when you're off the phone?" Sure. But the call lasted another 20 minutes. 20 minutes of laughter, gossip about mutual friends, plans for when she'd finally leave her mother-in-law's quirky house. 20 minutes of her talking about me like I wasn't 3 feet away, hearing every word. When she finally hung up, she came over to where I was peeling potatoes for lunch. All done, Mrs. Linda. What did you want to talk about? I took a deep breath, searching for the right words. I was 72, had raised 2 kids alone after my husband died, faced illnesses, losses, financial struggles, loneliness. But I'd never felt so small and disrespected as I did in that moment. Emily, I need you to understand something. This is my house. She gave me that exaggerated, surprised look manipulative people use when confronted. Of course I understand, Mrs. Linda. We're so grateful you're letting us stay here. Grateful. She was grateful. So grateful she slept on my couch, complained about my quirks to her mom, and treated me like a maid in my own home. Then I need you to treat me with respect. Don't talk about me like I'm a problem. I open my home to you. I'm sharing my food, paying higher bills, giving up my privacy. Mrs. Linda, I think you misunderstood. I didn't misunderstand, Emily. I heard you talking to your mom. I heard you complain about me. Call me a mother-in-law with weird quirks, say I make noise on purpose. Her face turned red, but not from shame, from anger. Like I was the one at fault for overhearing what she said about me in my own kitchen. Look, Mrs. Linda, I think we need to have an honest conversation here. Great, let's have it. You're being overly dramatic. I was just venting to my mom. Everyone does that. And you do make noise during my classes. Not on purpose, I know, but you do. Noise doing what, Emily? I don't know. Washing dishes, mopping the floor, moving stuff around. The house is small, sound carries. Washing dishes, mopping the floor, moving stuff around. In my own house. That was the first time in 72 years I wanted to slap someone. Emily, I've lived here for 50 years. These are my chores, my routine. If the sound of my life bothers your studies, maybe you should find somewhere else to live. Wow, that's harsh. I'm just trying to have a dialogue here. Harsh. Me, who was being pushed out of my routine, was harsh. Me, who tiptoed around to avoid bothering her, was the problem. It's not harsh, Emily. It's a boundary. Look, Mrs. Linda, I'll be honest. We're not here by choice. We sold the condo because we were in a financial mess. Ryan lost money on a bad investment and we had to sell to pay off debts. The truth at last. Not a sudden buyer, not market pressures. It was bad financial decisions, irresponsibility, choices that cost my son and his wife their home. So we're in a tough spot and need support, not criticism and demands. Support. 50 years paying for this house, 72 years being responsible for my actions, 7 years living alone without bothering anyone. And now I was supposed to offer unconditional support to people who disrespected me daily. Emily, you can stay here as long as you need, but with respect. I'm not your maid, your hotel, or your storage unit. I'm a person, the owner of this house, and I deserve to be treated as such. She looked at me with a mix of disdain and pity, like I was a confused old lady who didn't get it. Fine, Mrs. Linda. We'll try to adjust better. Try to adjust, as if the issue was adjustment and not a basic lack of decency. That afternoon, as I cooked lunch in silence, I wondered how we'd gotten here. My son, raised with so much love and care, selling his home without telling me. My daughter-in-law, welcomed into the family with open arms, disrespecting me in my own kitchen. And me, a 72-year-old woman, respected in my community, my school, my church, treated like an inconvenient nuisance. Ryan came home at 6, as usual in a rush, asking if dinner was ready. He didn't ask about my day, didn't notice my tired expression, didn't sense the tension hanging over the house. Hey Mom, smells great. What did you make? Grilled chicken with salad. He looked at the plate, slightly disappointed. That's it? I thought you'd make that pot roast you do. Your wife doesn't eat red meat, remember? Oh right, forgot. But you could have made both, right? One for her, one for us. Us, me and him. As if I was obligated to cook 2 different meals because they decided to move into my house. As if my pension should cover their culinary preferences. Ryan, I need to talk to you. After dinner, Mom, I'm beat. Always tired, always busy, always with something more important than listening to the mother being disrespected in her own home because of him. But this time, I didn't back down. No, Ryan. Now. Ryan looked at me with that barely concealed irritation I knew so well. The same face he made as a teenager when I called him out for bad grades or coming home late. Like my maternal concern was an unnecessary burden. Mom, I'm really tired. Can we talk tomorrow? No, Ryan, we're talking now. Something in my voice must have sounded different because he put down his phone and looked at me properly for the first time in weeks. Emily, who was pretending to study at the table, looked up too. Is something wrong, Mom? Yes, Ryan, a lot is wrong. You showed up here 3 weeks ago without warning, turned my house into a storage unit, upended my routine, and today I heard your wife talking about me like I'm a problem in your lives. The silence in the kitchen was so heavy, it weighed on my shoulders. Emily closed her laptop slowly, and Ryan ran a hand through his hair, that nervous gesture he'd had since he was a kid caught doing something wrong. Mom, Emily didn't mean... She meant it, Ryan, and I don't blame her. I blame you. Blame me? For what? For selling your condo without telling me. For using me as your backup plan. For showing up here like I owe you something. Mom, you're my mom. Of course I can count on you. Counting on me is one thing, Ryan. Invading my life is another. His face turned red, the way it did when he was a kid caught in a lie. Invading? That's a bit much, Mom. We're going through a rough patch and came for help. That's what families do. Asking for help would have been sitting at this table, explaining your situation, and asking if I could help. You didn't ask. You just moved in like it was your right. Emily shifted in her chair, clearly uncomfortable with where this was going. Mrs. Linda, maybe we can... You stay out of this, Emily. I'm talking now. The firmness in my voice surprised even me. 72 years of being polite, understanding, the mom who always gives in, always forgives, always welcomes. But it was time to be the woman I was before I was a mother. Ryan, you lied to me. You said you sold the condo because a buyer came up, but the truth is you were in debt because of your bad financial choices. How do you know that? Because your wife told me today, justifying why you can't leave anytime soon. The look he shot Emily could have cut glass. She looked down, finally seeming ashamed. All right, Mom, we messed up, okay? We should have explained better. But does that change anything? We still need help. You do. But help comes with respect. I'm not your hotel, your maid, or your storage unit. The words poured out like a flood held back for weeks. Every small humiliation, every quiet disrespect, every time I felt invisible in my own home. Mom, you're being dramatic. We don't treat you badly. Don't you? Then explain why I have to make coffee in the bathroom so I don't wake your wife. Explain why I can't watch the news on my TV. Explain why you turned my sewing room into an office without asking. It's just some adjustments, Mom. We're trying to adapt. Adapt? I'm the one adapting here, Ryan. You showed up and took over like this house belongs to you. Emily finally looked up and met my eyes. Look, Mrs. Linda, we get that this isn't easy for you either, but we didn't ask to be here. It was a necessity. Exactly, Emily. Your necessity, which became my problem without my input. Ryan slammed his hand on the table, making the plates rattle. Enough, Mom. You're being selfish. We're family. Families help each other. Selfish. 50 years paying for this house. 72 years being responsible for my actions, and I was selfish for wanting respect in my own home. Families help each other, Ryan. But families also respect each other. And you're not respecting me. How are we not respecting you? His question sounded genuinely confused, like he truly couldn't see what was wrong. And that's when it hit me, breaking my heart. My son had become a man who thought it was normal to disrespect his own mother. Ryan, you're 37. When was the last time you asked how I'm doing? What? When was the last time you cared if I was okay, if I needed anything, if I was happy? He stayed silent, clearly at a loss for words. I'll answer for you. Never. Since you got here, you've never asked if I'm okay with you living here. You just assumed I was. Mom, of course I care about you. Do you? Then tell me, how have I been sleeping since you moved in? Am I eating well? Am I happy? He looked at me like I was a stranger. I don't know. Exactly. You don't know. Because to you, I'm not a person, Ryan. I'm just the mom who's supposed to fix your problems. Mom, that's not true. It is, and I'll prove it. I got up from the table and went to my bedroom. In the dresser drawer, tucked among important papers and old photos, was the document I hoped I'd never need. I returned to the kitchen with it in hand. What's this, Mom? The deed to the house. Ryan and Emily exchanged glances, clearly confused about where this was going. So, this house is in my name alone, and I can do whatever I want with it. Obviously, Mom, we know it's your house. Do you? Then why do you act like it's yours? The silence returned, heavier than before. For the first time since they arrived, I felt in control. I'm making you an offer. You can keep living here, but with conditions. Emily looked wary. What conditions? First, you pay rent. Not a lot, but you pay. $500 a month, including utilities. 500? Mom, we're broke. Figure it out. Emily can pause her online course and get a job. Any job. Emily looked outraged. Mrs. Linda, you don't understand. I'm building a career. Build it while working, like everyone else does. Second condition, you help with chores, dishes, bathroom, yard. This house doesn't clean itself. Ryan seemed genuinely surprised. But you've always loved taking care of the house. I do, but I'm not your maid. If you live here, you share the responsibilities. Third condition, you respect my routine. I'm not changing my schedule for you anymore. If I want to watch the news at 9, I'm watching the news at 9. If I want to make coffee at 6, I'm making coffee at 6. Mom, that's a bit extreme. Extreme is showing up unannounced and expecting me to serve you. Fourth and final condition, a deadline. You have 3 months to find another place. 3 months, Max. 3 months? Mom, that's not enough time. It's the time I'm giving you. Take it or find somewhere else to stay. Ryan looked at me like he was seeing a stranger. Mom, you've changed. I have, Ryan. I had to. Because you forced me to. Emily crossed her arms, visibly annoyed. And if we don't agree to these conditions, then you leave tomorrow. The firmness in my voice surprised even me. I'd never spoken to my son like this, never set such clear boundaries, but I'd also never been so disrespected in my own home. Mom, you can't just kick us out. I can. This is my house. I can kick out whoever I want. But we're family. Exactly why I'm giving you this chance. If you were strangers, you'd have been gone already. The silence that followed was different. Not the silence of someone being oppressed, but the silence of someone who'd finally taken control of their life. Emily spoke first. All right, Mrs. Linda. We'll accept the conditions. Ryan looked at her, shocked. Emily, we need to talk about this. No, Ryan, your mom's right. We haven't been respecting her. For the first time since they moved in, Emily looked at me with something like respect. You're right. I'll start looking for a job tomorrow. And I'll start looking for an apartment, Ryan added, still visibly upset. Good. It's settled then. I stood up from the table, feeling a relief I hadn't known in weeks. Not joy, not yet. But the feeling of reclaiming something I'd lost. Respect for myself. The days that followed were different. Emily did look for a job and landed a receptionist position at a dental clinic. It wasn't marketing, but it was honest work that helped with bills. Ryan started hunting for apartments, grumbling about prices but searching. And I went back to making coffee at 6, watching the news at 9, using my sewing room when I wanted. I went back to being the owner of my own home. 3 months later, when they moved into a small but their own apartment, Ryan hugged me at the door. Thanks, Mom. For what? For teaching me to be responsible again. Emily hugged me too. And for a moment, I felt we might have built something like mutual respect. Sorry, Mrs. Linda. We really weren't fair to you. It's okay, Emily. You're young. You're still learning. When their car disappeared around the corner, carrying the last of their furniture and leaving my house empty again, I sat in my rocking chair in the yard and took a deep breath. The silence around me wasn't the silence of imposed loneliness anymore, but the silence of reclaimed freedom. That night, I made coffee in my kitchen at 6, watched the news at 9, and slept in my bed, knowing no one would wake up complaining about the coffee maker's noise, knowing no one would treat me like I was invisible in my own home, knowing that at 72, I'd learned it's never too late to set boundaries and demand respect. A few weeks later, I ran into my neighbor, Mrs. Clara, at the grocery store. She asked about the kids, as she always did. They moved out, Clara. They're doing fine, but they moved out. Oh, that's a shame. I thought it was so nice, you all living together. I smiled, remembering how I once thought family togetherness always meant happiness. Sometimes, Clara, you need to be apart to really be close. She looked at me, confused, but I understood perfectly. Sometimes, true love means distance. Sometimes, respecting someone means not letting them disrespect you. And sometimes, the greatest lesson we can teach our kids is that we're not doormats, not storage units, not automatic solutions to the problems they create. 6 months later, Ryan visits every Sunday. He shows up on time, asks how I'm doing, brings flowers for the garden. Emily got a promotion at the clinic and is taking a radiology course on weekends. They rent a small but tidy apartment, pay their bills on time, and are learning to be real adults. And I learned that at 72, there's still time to reclaim dignity, set boundaries, demand respect. I learned that being a mom doesn't mean being a doormat, and loving someone sometimes means not letting them destroy you. Every morning, when I make coffee at 6, I'm grateful I found the courage to say no, to say enough, to say I deserve respect in my own home. And every night, when I lie in bed after the news, I sleep peacefully knowing I'll never again let anyone treat me like I'm invisible. Because I exist, I matter, and I deserve respect.